Yes, we've got Newfoundland Premier John Hogan says it'll be very difficult to enforce a ban on hiking and camping in the woods like in other Atlantic provinces. I think he's responding to the absolute blowback that the other provinces are getting on this issue. And, at least he's a realist. Let's hear from him.
Is there any plan to ban people from hiking, camping like Nova Scotia and New Brunswick have, given that?
Look, it's very difficult to do that here in Newfoundland and Labrador. I mean, people literally go back and forth to their daily activities and lives and to work on ATVs. People literally do live in wooded areas, so I don't know how you ban people from their homes. That's just going to compound the problem in terms of evacuating people who live in or near woods. We felt that taking the steps with the fines will put pressure on people to be careful and to not abuse the privileges that we have in this society. So that's where we are right now.
Is that enough pressure right now?
I think it's the right thing to do right now, and we need to continue to make sure we do everything we can to get the message out there. And I don't know if extra fires popping up in the St. John's area will send a louder message and a clear message, and I certainly hope it does. Again, we're talking about an extremely small percentage of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, not 99.99% or more understand, follow the rules when the fines were $75, let alone when they're $50,000. So we are targeting that very extreme small percentage of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians that may be breaking the Forestry Act regulations.
Okay, so there's a very rare instance, friends. Write it down. We should take this day off next year to celebrate. A very rare instance of a Liberal who's making the right decision to balance the rights of the law-abiding with public safety. What they've done in Newfoundland and Labrador has not been to ban people from the woods. What they did is they jacked up the fine for violating the fire ban to $100,000 because he said it's unreasonable to kick people out of the woods, especially in these heavily wooded areas, right? Like, if you kicked me out of the woods, I would have to go stay at a hotel. And so he's making the steps not to punish the overwhelming majority of Newfoundland and Labradorians, I was going to call them Newfies, but I'll get a letter, to who he says 99.99% of them follow the rules. Okay, perfect. So he's choosing not to punish those people, and the ones that do violate the rules, he's throwing the book at them. That is exactly what you're supposed to do. That's how you balance rights versus public safety. Maybe the rest of the Atlantic premiers could learn something, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, what John Hogan did there was exactly what that last podcast panel was laughing at, is he came on the side of the guys that would stand at the end of their driveway with beer, talking about they want punishments harsher than what is currently being dished out for acts of setting fires in forests.
So 150,000. It's not just 100,000. It's 150. That's perfect.
That's not nothing for the people of rural Newfoundland and Labrador, who may be at a slightly higher risk of potentially setting a fire in the forest. What he's done is said, listen, you guys are at a higher risk, so make sure you take care of it. Make sure you practice prudent fire safety. And if you are to start a fire, well, this is the fine that you can expect. And it's not insignificant. $150,000 is a lot of money for just the normal people of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Plus 6 months in jail.
Ooh, that's like even worse. You know what I mean? Like it incentivizes good behavior is what it does. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Scott Reid, former I think a former comms director for Paul Martin, he has no clue what normal people do in their driveways. We drink cans of beer in the garage. Yeah. We don't stand at the end of the driveway with beer bottles.
We're not heathens. Like,
right?
My goodness.
Good Lord.
We have some class and substance to us.
Now we have
credit.
Six tickets have already been issued for people who are violating the woods ban. $150,000 in fines handed out to people violating the woods ban.
Huh.
It's crazy.
It
And
is
of
crazy.
course, the victim surcharge for the government. And so
Unreal.
the fine for violating the fire ban is only 50,000. That's where the disconnect is here.
That's where it's a little bit upside down. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where it's a little bit upside down. And in their rush to look like they're taking things seriously, they didn't think through this matter and how it was going to land on the actual people of Nova Scotia. They took some expert's opinion. Like somebody pitched this as we're going to keep everybody out of the woods, okay? And if they go in the woods, they're going to be. This was just an ill thought out, bad, terrible, awful plan that got away on them. But there is room to course correct. There is room to course correct. Do we think that they're going to? No, it sounds like they're kind of doubling down on their terrible, no good, awful ideas. So it's the people in Nova Scotia are going to have a little bit of a steep climb ahead of them dealing with their own government.
Yeah, the government learned a lot during COVID, didn't it? But people also learned a lot too. And they learned that sometimes the government makes dumb rules that don't do anything except take your rights away. And so you shouldn't follow dumb rules. It's actually one of the things that Jordan Peterson says, don't follow dumb rules. This is one of those things. And people have learned that the tyranny doesn't go away unless you civilly object to it. And that's what's happening right now. What is it? Halifax waterfront. I don't know. Local news traffic. This looks like it's the local news from Halifax. Truro Police Service has increased foot patrols and bike patrols of our wooded and trail areas. Okay, please remain out of all restricted areas, which include Upper Victoria Park and Rail Yard Bike Park. I'm reliably informed that doing such things causes fires.
Right.
So
yes.
How come their shoes and bikes don't start fires?
Yeah.
But
what we just did was declare public space as the private property of police.
Right.
Like so that they can just ride their bikes in peace without encountering anybody ever. That's what we just did here. Yeah.
Now, Susan Holt, Suze, the Premier of New Brunswick, has now started to say, because people are pointing out the absurdity of my shoes are going to cause lightning strikes. Yeah. And my fishing rod is going to somehow cause static to ignite a fire. People have pointed out the absurdity of that. And so now she's changing the reason. So moving the goalpost about why you should stay out of it. And it's not because you're going to cause a fire. It's other reasons.
Right.
You'll suddenly learn how to not walk anymore. Your legs won't work when you get out there. And then what?
Mm-hmm. We've got about a few weeks left in summer before kids are back at school. And of course, many New Brunswickers naturally want to get back into the forest. What will it take for that to happen?
What will it take for that to happen? Yeah, a lot of rain. That's, I was going to say, an act of God. What we need is rain. We need the forests to get the water that they need to not be as dry and as in tinder-ready conditions that fires can start with just the slightest bit of heat that could come from a motorized vehicle, that could come from a lens, from a spark or otherwise. So if everybody can get out their best rain song, rain dance, rain prayers, that's what it'll take to get to the point where we know that the risk of fires is down, and we're encouraging people to. It's a great time to go out and take your dog for a walk on the beach. But I do want to speak to the people who are frustrated by the notion of an inability to go hiking or fishing, and I understand that frustration. it's something that we all love to do as New Brunswickers, is to get out into the woods and to do that with our family, our friends, our pets, and otherwise. And the notion that me going for a walk in the woods is going to cause a fire, I can understand why people think that that's ridiculous. But the reality is it's not that you might cause a fire. It's that if you're out there walking in the woods and you break your leg, we're not going to come and get you, because we have emergency responders that are out focused on a fire that is threatening the lives of New Brunswickers. And if you take your boat out fishing in a pond in Crown Land and you capsize, we're not going to be able to come and help you out, because our first responders are focused on an immediate and serious threat to our province. And so it's the possibility of diverting emergency resources away from where they are really needed, which is why we're asking New Brunswickers. This is something we're asking them to do. There are private woods where you can do what you want in New Brunswick, but we're asking you to make the safe choice for our first responders, for your neighbors, and for our woods. We can do that on the public lands that the government has authority over, and we're asking you to recognize that, yes, you want to go for a walk in the woods. Okay, well, like there's a lovely walk just nearby that doesn't threaten our first responders and our response to a dozen fires in this province that are getting worse by the day. And we need to keep our trails clear, our roads clear. We need to have as minimal barriers to the effective delivery of firefighting and to putting these out as possible. So it is an ask. We are asking New Brunswickers, please find somewhere else to walk with your friends and family right now, so that we can keep the risk of having to care for you in those places that are hard for us to reach, while we care for the people whose homes may be under threat in Irishtown, for the people that are experiencing fires outside the Miramichi and Bathurst. I want to say thank you to everybody who has been following along, who has been careful to...
It's enough, Lise. So now it's not that you will, like, she starts off her whole speech saying your lenses, your glass lenses are going to cause a fire, and that's why you need to stay out of the woods. And then she says, but wait a minute, that's not why we're telling you to stay out of the woods. It's because you won't be able to use your legs out there, and your boat will capsize, but only on public lands, not on privately owned lands.
Her use of unreasonable hypothetical situations here is staggering. Did you just hear what she said? She was like, well, listen, not to say that it won't happen, but if you go out on Crown lands, we are just way too busy to deal with you. If something terrible happens, so if something terrible happens to you while you're out in the woods, why? All of our first responders are busy and you're just going to die there. Does that remind you of any other time in history when they told us that? If you don't do what we say, someone will die. And this time she's like, and it's you.
Right. And
that's literally what she's saying.
If you don't stay out of the grocery stores, you are going to contract COVID, and then you're going to go to the hospital, and we won't be able to help you because the hospitals are already overloaded with COVID patients. And this is exactly the same scarcity of resources nonsense they pulled on us during COVID.
So not to promote this idea or anything, but that photo of those police officers on their bikes, right? Each of those bikes should have like a Zambulance behind them, like a stretcher on wheels, just in case those first responders encounter somebody that's broke their leg wherever they're patrolling. They should be multi-purpose first responders starting right now. If this is such a concern, this is such a concern in New Brunswick, well then those guys should also have the ability to haul somebody out of the woods if they find them in their hurts. So
get on that. They can't even put on their helmets straight. They should get one of those little drag behind ambulances and stuff Scott Reid in it and take him to the nut house.
Listen, if those little drive behind ambulances, those bike driven ambulances work for the people of sub-Saharan Africa, they'll work here too. Watch.
Right. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same scarcity of medical resources.
There's nobody available.
If you get sick.
There's nobody available. And especially if you do this to yourself. Especially if you do this to yourself. Okay.
Right.
We warned you, but if you If you go into those woods and hurt yourself, then you're on your own.